Too late, Batman! One step closer, and this goes into the water. The cave will fill with your deepest, darkest nightmares, and you will never reach your precious venom roots.
Don't do it, Crane!
How did he do it? How did Scarecrow manage to survive this attack from Killer Croc? Because the more and more I think about it, the more I realize that there's probably only one way that Scarecrow could have reasonably survived this attack. And I'm pretty sure, to my knowledge, there is no current explanation as to how he could have survived this attack. So today, I wanted to make this fun video on a little game theory of some sort, I guess you could say, on how Scarecrow survived Killer Croc's attack in Batman Arkham Asylum. So I'm sure that there's probably some of you who have come up with your own theories, your own speculations as to how he could have survived this, but for someone like me personally, I can only come up with one possible way. And if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe for more content, make sure you turn on that notification bell, and without further ado, let's get into the theory. Now, as you probably know by now, in Batman Arkham Asylum, Scarecrow does bring in his little fear toxin. And if you guys remember, throughout the course of the game, we have to go through those 3 Scarecrow sections where we're, like, hallucinating, right? Because we ended up inhaling the drugs in some sort of capacity, inhaling the fear toxin, which took us to these fun levels that a lot of people still praise to this very day. Now, I don't know exactly how his fear toxin would work on someone like Killer Croc for a couple different reasons, right? One, he is a different species, obviously being a crocodile, but he's also just a much larger individual, a lot taller, it weighs a lot more, there's a lot more to him. So I'm wondering if, in theory, if Scarecrow's fear toxin could even potentially affect him across different species. Now, I definitely think it would affect him to some degree, but here's what I think, right? If you remember the Scarecrow sections of the game, it seemed like Batman was out of it for probably a few minutes. Not much longer than that. I don't think he would have been out of it for hours or something. Otherwise, someone would have came across Batman at some point and probably killed him or hurt him to a severe degree. So he was probably most likely only out for a few minutes at a time. Now, depending on the dosage of which Scarecrow was able to give Killer Croc, because remember, he did have the spikes in his hands right before going into the sewer, of which he ended up getting taken into the water. So if he had those little spikes out, he could have potentially gotten some type of dose into Killer Croc that essentially would have microdosed him in a way, depending on how long he was able to keep it in there, how much of the drug he was able to put into Killer Croc's veins. And because Killer Croc is such a large animal, this would possibly explain why Scarecrow was able to get away, but yet Killer Croc was perfectly fine during this actual level, because the dosage probably would have only affected him for a couple minutes at most, giving Scarecrow enough time to get away, but not enough time to where Batman could have went in and out without potentially being harmed by someone with the likes of Killer Croc. This would also explain why Killer Croc would never have pursued Scarecrow again, because he would not have wanted to be hit by that fear toxin once again. Once you experience that level of, like, fear or whatever it is, the hallucinations or whatever, you don't want to deal with any part of that over again. And I think that Killer Croc probably just didn't want to really deal with that personally. He's probably just looking for a meal or something and just kind of picked out the worst possible person who could have had gadgets on hand, with the exception of Batman. And honestly, I think that's all you can really come up with in terms of theories. If you guys have another theory, let me know down in the comments below. This video is a bit of a shorter one than usual, but it's just because there's not really a lot that I can really work with here. I think the only way that, Scarecrow survived that attack was by injecting Killer Croc with the fear toxin, essentially. That is pretty much the only way he could have survived in a somewhat realistic way, because Scarecrow's not someone who's, like, physically empowering or anything. He's not super strong, and even if he is, he's not strong enough to deal with someone like Killer Croc. He's not as smart as Batman. He's smart, but not as smart as Batman. There's just nothing really that Killer Croc has going for him. He doesn't have fighting capabilities. He doesn't have anything. So, honestly, the only thing I think is that he injected him with fear toxin, which temporarily disabled Killer Croc, and basically made it so Scarecrow can get away and escape. That's the only theory I got. If you guys have another one, let me know down in the comments. If it's been confirmed somewhere and I just haven't seen it, Also, let me know down in the comments. I'm always down to be let know that I'm a complete moron. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace!